Hi, I'm Shauna, and welcome back to Sage River Healing. This week, we are going to talk about my journey. I thought it was important to share my journey with you, to give you an idea of how I came into the work that I do. So I am an intuitive healer, and what that means is I can tune into the energy of my client, tune into the energy of their body, their spirit guides, any ancestors that may be around, and give them messages for their healing, their health, and for, pretty much any area that they decide to focus on for the session. Messages will come through about that. And so it took me a while to get to where I am today. As a child, I was really scared of the dark. I've always been scared of the dark because I could always feel things that I couldn't see, and I could feel them very intensely, but I could see them in my head, and it didn't make sense to me why I could see it in my head but not with my eyes, and why I could see it but I didn't see it with my eyes. So it was always very scary. And a huge part of my childhood was that I was able to leave my body. I didn't have control over it, and it was very scary. And I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know how to stay inside my body. And so a lot of my growing up was a lot of fear. I mean, I had a beautiful childhood, I had a lot of fun. But these things that I was struggling with were really intense. And it kind of translated to, not kind of, but in my later years, it translated into there's something wrong with me, and I started having a lot of migraines, and so I started going to a lot of doctors. I ended up being treated for temporal lobe epilepsy that I did not have, but because of a lot of the things that were happening to me, that is what it was perceived as. And so by the time I was a teenager, I was definitely kind of getting out of control because I wasn't getting the type of help that I needed, nor did I realize I needed a certain type of help, Things were getting more intense. I'm an empath, so what an empath means is that you can feel other people's emotions and you can feel their energy. And not being educated on that, or even knowing that that's what was happening, that I could do that, I took on other people's emotions. If I could feel it, then it was mine, and it was just a mess, right? Like a mess of emotions all the time. I wasn't grounded. I was kind of like all over the place. It wasn't until literally I was about 25. My mom actually said, I want you to go outside and close your eyes. I lived in Oakland. It was a city, crazy city, right? Go outside, close your eyes, and go for a walk and feel what emotions are yours and what emotions are other people's. And that clicked with me. I started practicing that all the time. And I realized that through doing that, I was not only hearing people's conversations that I couldn't hear with my ears, but I was feeling their emotions also. I could look at someone and say, oh, they're driving by in a car. I could look at them and say, oh, they're going through a divorce. And that's what they're talking about. And I could feel those feelings, but know that they weren't mine. And this was a huge turning point in my life, because up until that point, I was a really good alcoholic, because my gosh, I didn't know what to do with all these things I was feeling and hearing and seeing. I was just like, oh, I'm kind of crazy, So alcohol was great for me because I could escape from it. And, it was a way to kind of turn it off, or at least turn the volume way down. So that's where I kind of found my freedom for many years, was through my alcoholism, which, is a whole other beast of its own. But after about 25, once my mom gave me that idea, I was like, whoa, Prior to that, I had, I was probably like 20 when I found my Reiki master. And it was a complete accident. And up until that point in my life, I had been treated for all these things that weren't true, right? Because people are just trying to help me, but nobody really knows what's going on. And, at that point in my life, I was actually being treated for bipolar disorder, which was a whole other realm of things. But when I found this Reiki master, it was actually a gift for my partner at the time. I thought I was getting her a massage, right? And I meet this woman, and her name was Kathy. And it was just like I had come home. You know, I walked into her building. It was literally this log cabin in the middle of this teeny tiny town in Central California. And I was just like, I'm home. And she was just amazing. And I started having sessions with her, and my life changed in such a big way. I'm 20 years old. You know, my knowledge of any kind of, you know, spirits or energy work is little. You know, I've had all these things been happening to me, but I didn't know what it was. And I was definitely interested in crystals. For some reason, rocks. I was collecting rocks and crystals. I had no idea what they meant, but I was always collecting them and loving them, you know. So, you know, 20, I meet this Reiki master and I start working with her, and my life changes huge. Like, now I'm understanding that, like, I'm not crazy, and these things I'm seeing are real. Just because other people can't see them doesn't mean it's not real. And it was amazing. It was so eye-opening. And I was still a disaster. I was still a huge mess. You know, my life was not fixed or perfect by any means, but I was getting answers. You know, I was getting answers to all these things that I just was like, oh my gosh, my whole life, right? So, wow. We had amazing healing sessions together. She is an amazing healer, and it changed my life. And that's where I got all my Reiki attunements, was through her. And actually my first Reiki attunement, it wasn't even, I hadn't even asked for it. My guide said that you're ready, and it just happened through one of our sessions, and it was so powerful and so intense. And after that session, I was like blown wide open, and like, I mean, it was amazing. I was like, oh, I get it now. I'm seeing my animal guides, and I'm seeing spirit guides, and I'm seeing spirits, you know, but it was making sense. So that was early 20s, you know, and then I moved away to go to college, and, you know, didn't keep it together very well. Went really well back into my alcoholism. Around 25, going back to the time my mom, you know, suggested that I practice walking around, closing my eyes, feeling what's mine and what's not. That was a huge turning point. And yeah, so it was after that I wasn't as scared. 25, I wasn't as scared anymore. And when I would see and hear spirits, it wasn't as scary. It still would freak me out a little bit, but not this like, oh, I gotta shut it off. So I'd go in and out of these phases of like really listening and paying attention, and, you know, trying to help, and I don't know what I was supposed to be doing, and then kind of like, oh, I'm gonna stop. So it wasn't until, yeah, no, that was good. And then about, once I took, let me think here. So the next big turning point in my healing was when I took a craniosacral therapy program, like learning how to do craniosacral therapy. And prior to that, so like backing up for a minute, when I was working with Kathy in my early 20s, I knew it was like deep inside my heart was like, oh my gosh, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Like I am supposed to help people in a way that Kathy is. Like I am a healer. I don't, you know, but I was so not ready that it was just this, like, it was a knowing that I had, but I wasn't ready to go there. I knew it was nowhere near ready. And so, moving forward, once, after 25, a few years later, I take a craniosacral therapy class, and it was not an accident by any means. I was finishing up my massage therapy certification. It was this year-long program, and I was like, there's something else. Like, there is something else that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not supposed to be doing massage. You know, this is just a stepping stone to get there. And I found this woman, Ursula Pop, online, and I was like, oh, it was like that moment of like, oh my gosh, this is it. And she's a craniosacral therapist, and she taught classes, and she was teaching it with another teacher, Lauren, and I went to their introductory course. It was this 4-day long introductory craniosacral course, and that was it. I was like, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh my God. And so for the next year, I took her craniosacral therapy program, and that was my turning point. That was my, like, the switches were already turned on, but now they're turned on full blast, and I've learned how to really listen deeply. And now all the guides and the spirits and the creatures of the earth, and they're all coming to me, and they're all speaking to me now because I'm open. I'm finally open to it. And I mean, it was just this year of like, wow, like just kind of like boom, 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 boom. Like I thought I got one thing and then another thing's coming, and it was just like one thing after, and it was phenomenal. It was amazing. Like, it was so like life transforming, you know, and of course I'm going through my own inner healing at the same time too. So there were so many variables happening. But ever since then, it's just been a continual opening and a continual welcoming of what is coming in and moving forward with this journey. And so it was a few months, probably like, no, a few months after I finished my craniosacral program, that I knew I wasn't supposed to be just doing craniosacral therapy. I mean, it was very clear through all these sessions I had been doing that it wasn't just craniosacral, and that it was definitely another huge stepping stone for me. And so one day it just came to me, like, I'm like, I don't know what I should call what I do. And it was just like intuitive healing. And there it was. It was like, that's it. Intuitive healing. That's it. You know, because so many different things can happen and be seen and be heard during a session that it can't be narrowed down to just one little thing. And so yeah, I mean, it's been a trip. It's been an awesome journey. It's been super exciting, and I'm still open to it. I'm still open to learning and growing, and yeah, and it's a continual process. You know, your intuition is always growing and changing and molding, and so staying open to it and staying open to the changes and what can come, and maybe something doesn't come. And so my journey just continues, and I am so excited that I'm in a place that I can share my journey with you and that I can be of service to you. And so it's so exciting to finally be in a place in my life where I can also help heal people. And it's wonderful. It feels so good. So thank you so much for listening to my story today. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments or anything. I love hearing from you guys. You can find me at sageriverhealing.com. That's my website. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram via Sage River Healing. If you're interested in my intuitive healing sessions, go to my website at sageriverhealing.com. Thank you so much, and I look forward to our sessions together.